All right, it looks like we are live and kicking. In which case, Shabbat Shalom to one and all. Get comfy, relax, get ready to sing, to clap, to welcome Shabbat as a community. We have Cantor Aronoff, who's going to set the scene with a Shabbat Zemira, a Shabbos song, a tune. It is a lovely Hasidic version of Ma Yedidut. It can be found on this lovely prayer book on page 83 if you wish to follow along.
Ma yedidut menuchatech ad Shabbat hamalka v'chein narutz likratech bo'ichala nesucha levush bigdei chamudot yalalalai lehadlik ner bivracha ותחל כל העבודות לא תעשו מלאכה להתענג בתענוגים ברבורים וסלב ודגים להתענג בתענוגים ברבורים וסלב ודגים. One of the things I like about this song is it's got a whole menu for Shabbat, right? So, most of the Shabbat songs talk about how important Shabbat is and God rested and we should rest. But this is really, and it starts off, how beloved your peace and quiet Shabbat queen, at Shabbat amalka b'chein narutz likratech. We run to greet you, Boi chala nesucha, come to us. And then it starts talking about what we're wearing or what she's wearing. But the chorus of the song is to enjoy, lihitaneg, like oneg, to enjoy geese, quail, and fish. That's what it says. So here we go, second verse on 83. מערב מזמינים כל מיני מטעמים מבעוד יום מוכנים תרנגולים מפותמים ולערוך כמה מינים שיטות יינות מבוסמים וטפנו כמעדנים בכל 3 פעמים להתענג בתענוגים ברבורים וצלב ודגים להתענג בתענוגים ברבורים וצלב ודגים. Let's do one more verse at the top of the next page, which is also 83. נחלת יעקב יירש, למצרים נחלה, יכבדוהו עשיר ורש, ותזכו לגאולה. ביום שבת אם תשמורו וייתם לי סגולה ששת ימים תעבודו ובשביעי נגילה להתענג בתענוגים ברבורים וסלב ודגים להתענג בתענוגים ברבורים וסלב ודגים. Good Shabbos. I hope you all have a good Shabbos meal.
It's been years as well since I've heard that. The na 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 na. Thank you so much for enriching me and triggering lovely memories of Shabbos dinners past. Next up on the plate is Lechu Naranana on page 11. Our invitation to let us all sing and praise God and feel that gratitude with our songs that Shabbat is here.
Lechu neranena l'Adonai, nari לצור אישנו, לקדמה פנה בתודה, בסבירות נריע לו. לקדמה פנה בתודה, בסבירות נריע לו. כי אל גדול אדוני ומלך גדול על כל אלוהים, אשר בידו מחקרי הארץ ותועפות הרים לו. אשר בידו מחקרי הארץ ותועפות הרים לו. אשר לא יביאו עשהו ויבשת ידיו יצרו, בו נשתחווה ונכרע נברכה לפני אדוני עצמנו. כי הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו עם מריתו וצאן ידו היום. 40 שנה אקוט בדור, ואומרם טועה לבבהם, והם לא ידעו דרכי, אשר נשבעתי באפי, אם יבואון אל מנוחתי.
Shir Adonai, Shir Hadash on the next page, which is 13 if you're following along in this Siddur.
שיר לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברוך הוא שמו בצורים יום ישועתו. ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירם הים ומלואו, יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו, אז ירננו כל הצייר. לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, וימים באמונתו.
Let's do a little bit more singing to God a new song, this one in the form of Mizmor Shir Adonai on page 17, and it is Psalm number 98.
Mizmor. One second, here we go. Shiru Adonai, Shir Chadash, כי נפלאות עשה, הושיע לו ימינו, וזרוע קודשו, הודיע אדוני ישועתו, לעיני הגויים גילה צדקתו. חסדך ואמונתו לבית ישראל. ראו כל אפסי הארץ את ישועת אלוהינו. הריעו לאדוני כל הארץ, פיצחו ורננו וזמרו, זמרו לאדוני בכינור וכל זמרה. בחצוצרות וכל שופר, הריעו לפני המלך אדוני. ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושביו. נהרות ימחה וכף, יחד הרים ירננו. לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, וימים במישרים. ילאי לי 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 יאי ני ני, ינאי ני 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 ני, ילאי לי 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 יאי לי לי, ילאי לי 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 לי, איי ני 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 ני, יאי ני ני, יאי ני 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 ני
Toda rabah for that. Another one of my favorites. I was singing beautiful harmonies with you, Cantor A. I hope you could sense that. I was doing the na, right? Yeah, there's a little bit of chromatic descending scales there. You'd have loved it back home. So everyone else who's listening, I'm so sorry that we will be back soon singing in harmonies together. But just please imagine it. And I could hear several of you singing along, doing great harmonies, tapping your feet and moving your bodies. So thank you for that. Have fun. We are ready to greet the Sabbath bride at this time. So we have our central love song, Lecha Dodi, wooing Shabbat to come closer to us. As we delight in her company and her presence. So, I'm not sure what tune Cantor Aronoff will be treating us to. I'm as psyched as you are, but I know it's on page 23.
ותפארת ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נאסוך סוף מעשה במחשבה תפילה עליך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קומי צאימי תוך אפיך רב לך שבט ימי קבחה והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה אוי לך דודי אוי לקראת כלה אוי פני שבת נקבלה נערי מאה פרקומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי קרבה אל נפשי גאלה לך דודי לקראת כלה על פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך ומאורי אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה אוי לך דודי לקראת כלה על פני שבת נקבלה לא תבושי ולא תקלמי מה תשתוכחי ומה תמי בך יחסו עניי עמי ונבנתה עיר על תהילה הולך דודי אוי לקראת כלה על פני שבת נקבלה והיו למשיסה שועסייך ורחקו Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos indeed. The Sabbath Queen was much pleased with that salutation. Thank you for that. So we're really officially in Shabbat now. So we get to sing our psalm for Shabbat, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov Lahodot, on page 27, and it's also known as Psalm 92.
Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov Leodot L'Adonai. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov Leodot L'Adonai. Tov Leodot L'Adonai, Uzamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Le'agid B'boker Chesdecha, Ve'emunatcha B'leilot. Alei Asor va'alei Navel, Alei Higayon Bechinor, Ki simachtani Adonai befo'alecha, B'ma'aseh yadecha aranei. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Tov Leodot L'Adonai. Tzadik katamar yifrach, Ki Erez Bavanon yiskeh, Shetulim beveit Adonai, Bechatzrot Eloheinu yavrichu, Od yenovon b'seva, Tishenim v'rananim yiyu, Le'agid ki yashar Adonai, Tzuri v'lo avlata bo. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Tov Leodot L'Adonai.
We now have the treat of leaning in to yet another welcoming gesture to honor the arrival of Shabbat, as Cantor Aronoff will present us with her beautiful, already lit Shabbos candles and lovely dining room table with beautiful flowers there and a white tablecloth, such a classic Shabbat scene. And Cantor Aronoff will, somewhat classic, will lead us in a candle blessing at this time. So we invite you to look at your candles and to then stop looking at them and stand if you can, and we'll offer the blessing together. And I'm going to highlight her so we can really lean into that lovely view there and imagine that we were with her, gathered around her table.
That would be so nice. It's actually a green tablecloth, but it's a little hard to tell. But it matches the green stems of these lovely flowers. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Vitzivanu, Vitzivanu, Lead Likner, Vitzivanu, Vitzivanu, Lead Likner, Shel Shabbat. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la, ya la la. Shabbat shalom. Mwah.
Shabbat shalom, mwah, to one and all. Please feel free to write Good Shabbos or Shabbat shalom in the comments section on Facebook and reach out to one another and just say, it's Shabbos, Shabbat shalom. So, holy cow, do we have a Torah portion for you? It's wild. Golden calf is built. That's our holy cow, or even an in-holy cow. And the rabbis speculate that it wasn't actually a deliberate worship of a foreign god in that construction of this golden calf, or even that the Israelites were trying to construct a different god, but that this cow was a representation of Yahweh, of the God who brought them out of Egypt. And we actually see that in the text. This is the God who brought you out of Egypt. That's what Aaron says. And this means that the sin of the golden calf isn't what a lot of us think. It reveals that the Israelites craved to meet their God, the one true God, the God that liberated them. And they just wanted to actualize that form in gold. So it's not so much idolatry, worshipping a god outside of Adonai Eloheinu, but the sin is more that it was a limiting visual representation of our God, a bestial form, which is a real no-no. And obviously the people are punished. Those 10 commandments that Moshe labored on for 40 days and 40 nights are smashed. But before the second tablets are carved, surely a gesture that shows forgiveness and willingness to continue to be in covenant with the people, we get the strangest incident of them all, because Moshe, moments after begging God to forgive the Israelites for constructing and trying to worship the golden calf, Moshe asks God for his own private revelation. And it's not in words, but it's a physical one. Oh, let me behold your presence, Shemot chapter 33, verse 18 tells us. And God initially rejects Moshe on the grounds that no human may see me alive and live. And even so, God thinks about this. God understands that there is a need that humans have to physicalize and actualize God. Because Moses himself, having just experienced what the people did, himself wants this. And God says, you know what? Let's give you a little taste. And this is a very elaborately choreographed taste, because God instructs Moses to stand near God, and we're inside the crevice of the mountain, so it's quite dimly lit and higgledy-piggledy. And God is going to shield Moshe from the fullness of God's grandeur and pass back to Moses. And also God puts God's hand in front of Moses and then just briefly pulls God's hand away. So Moshe just catches sight of God from behind and sees a little something. And this is stunning. This is what the people wanted and needed, and Moshe gets treated to this. And there's two fascinating things to derive from this incident. Firstly, we get to ask ourselves, so what did God look like? Well, Talmud Brachot 7a takes a stab at answering this and says what Moshe got to see was a glimpse of the knot of God's tefillin, because of course God wears tefillin, just worn at the base of God's neck, where the knot comes behind someone. Those tefillin, as people know, that those are the boxes that contain pieces of parchment that have biblical verses inscribed on them. And it's a commandment itself that's given later on. So obviously God transcends time and can see into the future and knows that tefillin will exist. But that in itself is a wild concept, that God's wearing tefillin. tefillin. And the next question that we would lean in and say to ourselves is, all right, well, what is written on God's tefillin parchments? Because I think it's going to be different from human parchment. We have the Shema and the verses that record to wear them on our tefillin. And again, if we were live, I'd ask you to submit ideas. Would it be love your neighbor? Or would it have the 10 commandments on it? Well, actually, the rabbis are going to tell us. And it's an odd verse. It's from Chronicles. And that's a really little known book that we don't often quote. But it's towards the end of Chronicles. And it's the line of chapter 17, verse 21 that says, "Who is like your people, Israel? One nation in the land." It's almost like a micha mocha, but Elim Adonai, but this is flipped. Who is like your people, Israel? So God is in awe of the Israelites. No one is like you, my people. And that is just a verse that attests to the special, unique relationship, the love affair, the bond, the ongoing bond and love that the Israelites and God share. So I love the idea that Moshe is being reminded of this, that God does love the people and is going to give them more laws, and that God is davening as well. So that's just an image to think, wow. But there's another image that sticks out to us, not even an image, more of an idea, which is in asking God for this request in the first place, it reveals that Moshe, in some ways, is no better than the people because, wait for it, he also can't cope with an invisible God, right? Moments after, Moses has begged on behalf of their lives and defended the people and even himself carried out harsh punishments. Like Moshe was the one who grinds up the golden calf and feeds it to the offenders and commands the Levites to kill with swords the people who have offended God. Moments after this, Moses says to God, one-on-one, not in public at least, "Come on though, God, what do you look like? You'll show me, right? Just between us, are you a calf? Did the children of Israel get that right?" And just the fact that Moshe asks this almost spoils some of the mystery, first of all. I kind of don't like knowing that God has a hand and a back. We don't really want to know. And I know really I'd actually be far more interested in knowing what's under God's skirt, actually. But the real thing is that it reframes this entire incident because it brings Moses mentally closer to the level of the people. It expresses all of our yearning to see God, because an invisible deity is just so hard for us to connect to. It's so intangible, it's so other. And it brings Moses down to the level of the people, or maybe it brings the people up and allows us to forgive them by saying, even Moses harbors this desire to see God. And that in turn gives all of us, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, the same permission to still be uncomfortable with an invisible God and to say, what do you look like? Are you there? And it also just makes us realize, well, what if it'd been the other way round and Aaron had gone up on the mountain for 40 days to speak with God and Moshe had been left down with the people? Kind of makes you suspect that maybe, just maybe, Moses would have built a golden calf himself. Shabbat Shalom. Pause for thought, indeed. Let us continue our Ma'ariv service now. I'm on page 39a for the Baruch Hu.
Lie, 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 lie,
Bottom of page 39A.
Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, Tamidim lo chaleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, Hama'ari v'aravim.
Amen. We continue with Ahavat Olam, page 40.
Ahavat olam et Yisrael ahavta Torah mitzvot k'mosh V'avatcha tasir mimenu li'olamim, Baruch ata Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha ve'dibarta bam בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך והיה אם שמוע תשכון.
We'll continue davening that second and third paragraph of the Shema to ourselves.
Adonai Elohechem emet ve'emunah chazov v'gayim aleinu ki Adonai Eloheinu ve'in zolado v'nach Yisrael. Page 44. Umalchuto b'ratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael echanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam. Ay lay 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 ay nay 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 ay nay nay ay nay 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 ay lay 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 ay lay 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 ay lay 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 mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Norate ilot osefele osefele Malechutecha ra'uvanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe Ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai imloch li'olam va'ed Yai lai 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 yai lai lai yai nai 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 yai nai nai yai nai 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 lai 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 yai nai 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 yai lai lai ai lai V'ne'emar ki fadarna et Yaakov u'gealo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
Amen. love how you snuck in the Shalom Aleichem tune as well. It's so perfect. We continue with Hashkivenu on page 45.
Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu Shalom Aleichem. Ushmor tzeitenu voenu lechayim u'leshalom me'ata v'ad olam ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha baruch ata Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu aleinu haporei sukat Shalom, Aleinu, Aleinu, Apore Sukat, Shalom, Aleinu, Aleinu, Apore Sukat, Shalom, Aleinu, Aleinu, V'yal kol amo, amo Yisrael. Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Shabbos la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת שבס לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ביום השביעי ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Just a word, Vishamru is in this week's parasha. It's in the end of chapter 31 of Parshat Ki Tisa, and there you have it. That's where it's from. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba v'yamad yivrach yutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala uvizman kariv ve'imeru amen.
Amen. Yehei shemei rabba mevorach li'olam lo me'almaya yitbarach.
Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitroma, v'yitnasei, v'yitadar, v'yitale, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha.
Urichu.
Ve'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, tamiran b'yolama, ve'imeru.
Amen. We have our silent Amidah for Ma'ariv at this point. It's on page 47 and continues till page 52. So feel free to daven this in your own time, in your own space, in your own way. Traditionally stand for this, as we know, and then sit down when you're done if you were able to stand in the first place. And we'll be right back with you afterwards with an Oseh Shalom, one of my favorite Oseh Shalom tunes, I am told. So very excited for that.
Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
That tune is definitely in my top 20 best Oseh Shalom tunes. There are so many of them. Really, it's like in the top 3. So thank you for sharing that. That's the Olch tune, isn't it?
Oaks, yeah.
Ox. Can't pronounce it, but it begins with O, CHS. Let's do a Kaddish and then a Kiddush. So Jack, if you would like to pass out to the virtual Kiddush cups, and Leah, Elias, you can collect the virtual Kiddush cups afterwards. And anyone who wants to have real Kiddush, go and get your goblets. Amen. Amen. Yeheshmei Rabba Mevorach Li'olam Ulol Mehalmaya Yitbarach.
Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitbar, Vitramam, Yinaseh, Vitadar, Vitalai, Vitalal, Shmei de Kudusha.
Rehu.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbchata v'nechamata, damiran v'yamavi meru.
Amen.
Tabel tzloton uvalton d'chol Yisrael kodam avuhandi v'shmaya v'yimeru.
Amen.
Shlam rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'yimeru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimeru.
Amen. Kiddush is on page 55, and Jack did literally pass out virtual Kiddush cups on Facebook there with some wonderful emojis. So toda rabba. Amazing stuff.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri agafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron lemaaseh v'reshit Ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim Ki vanu vacharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol amim v'shavat kodshecha b'ahava uvratzon Hinchatanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Yummy Chardonnay.
Amen indeed, and l'chaim to one and all. So let us stay up and pepped and prepped for the Aleinu, page 57.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol hatei kedula liyotzer breshit shelo asanu kigoyei haratzot velo samanu kemishpochot ha'adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem vegor aleinu kechol amonam va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei amlachim Hakadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Notei Shamayim V'Yoser Haaretz U'Moshev Yikaro B'Shamayim Mima'al U'Shchinatu Zo B'Govei Meromim Hu Eloheinu Ein Od Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato Kakatu B'Torato V'Yadat Hayom V'Ashivota Elevavecha Ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim mima'al V'al haaretz mitachat ein od Alkeinu kabel lechanun Ki hamalchut shelcha hi u'la'olam yamloch b'chavod ka'katuv b'toratecha Adonai yimloch li'olam va'ed V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom ha'u יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
On page 58, we have Kaddish Yatom. I've shared on Facebook the names of all those whose yacht sites are coming up in this upcoming week. And I encourage anyone to share the name or names of any individuals that they are holding in their heart as they pray this with me. And at this time, we also want to take the opportunity to extend our deep, heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Mayor Goldstein. He was the father of Jeffrey Goldstein. And we also want to extend our condolences to the family and friends of Daniel Greenberg, husband of Susan Steinhauser, and to Dottie Simmons, to the family and friends of Dottie. She was the mother of Barbara Lazar and Phil Simmons, and she lived to a grand old age indeed. And there's another family as well. They've just finished their Shiva period, but I know that I think they're joining us right now. So we just want to continue to hold in our hearts the family and friends of Ruth Notkin, the mother of Adria Metzen. And of course, Mel Aronoff, who is in his 30-day period of mourning for Edie Aronoff. And everyone's in their own stage of mourning, but the Mourner's Kaddish is that time to reflect and lean in to that loss and affirm their faith in their community and in God. So actually, Mel, if you want to lead the Mourner's Kaddish, that would be beautiful. And we will just hold all of you in our hearts and offer big virtual hugs. Page 58.
Yitgadal v'yikadash shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalma divrach yirotei, v'yamlich machotei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'isman kariv, v'imru Amen.
Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach
leolam
leomei
omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh, v'yitalal shmei dekudusha, brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran balma v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Amen. May all their memories be a blessing and a comfort to us and bring a smile to our face and inspire us to make the best of our lives here on earth. Mwah! Mel, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow as well. I also want to announce that we don't just celebrate all life cycles and observe them, but there have been 2 births in the community. So I just want to say Mazel Tov on the birth of Gavin Theodore Klein. He is the son of Joshua and Lauren Klein, and brother of Caleb, grandson of Barbara Klein and Richard Klein, and also Dr. and Mrs. Ben Rubenstein. And also another little baby boy joined the ranks of the Jewish people this week, Max Henry Goldman. He was born again on, I think, February 24th, so just over a week ago. Max is the son of Brett and Sarah Goldman, brother of Ellie Goldman, grandson of Mark and Marla Gittig and Larry and Leslie Goldman. So I just want to put that out into the world as well. It's we, as you know, we transition from high joys to low sad points and back up again in our Jewish prayer cycle. So it's a lot to deal with, but this is the roller coaster of life. So Mazel Tov to those births. We have a couple of announcements to make, and then Cantor Aronoff will wrap us up. This weekend has some wonderful opportunities for singing and for joy, and also for dealing with trauma and places that can get dark at times. On Saturday night at 8 p.m, we are being treated to David Kaminer, who used to be with us every Friday night, tinkling those keys and inspiring us to greater heights of harmony and rhythm. He is putting on an event, the Piano Bar. And it's too late to order cocktails because we are actually giving out cocktails that you can enjoy, but you can still tune in and make your own. drink whatever works for you, and you can still request songs. So he is a jukebox, a living humanoid jukebox. So please use him wisely and request a good song. And I'm just so excited to get to hear him up close and personal in my Zoom. So feel free to log on to that. We've emailed you the links, and it's also on the website. And then on Sunday, we have a slightly different tone, but just as important. At 5 p.m., we have a speaker who is an expert in dealing with trauma and transition. She's a therapist, and she's going to really help us lean in to the fact that, boy, oh boy, it's been a year, and we've been living with the pandemic. And she's just going to reflect on that and talk about how trauma is in our brain and in our body, how we deal with this. The speaker's name is Dr. Betsy Stone. And again, it's a really worthwhile session. It's free, and you can tune in Sunday, 5 p.m. And she's asking us to think about what we've lost and what we've gained. So I encourage everyone to be there as well. And then, of course, at the end of the month, Pesach time. So we've got a first night Seder that you are all welcome to join us on. It'll start at 7:30 because it's a little bit later, and we'll take you up to the meal. And then we're going to have the option of breakout rooms. So if you want to eat your meal with other people who aren't in the room, you're welcome to do so, but you're also welcome to switch off. We'll talk more about Pesach and other opportunities to learn about Pesach, or even celebrate with the women of Adat. On the 17th of March, we're having a Passover celebration, Dayenu. It's already enough. But we'll talk about that close to the time. I'm going to pass this over to Cantor Aronoff in case there's anything that I have forgotten, neglected to mention. Otherwise, we will have a rousing Yigdal experience. But thank you to Cantor Aronoff for being here. Thank you to everyone on Zoom and Facebook and YouTube for just being here and celebrating Shabbat as best we know how under pandemic situations.
Thank you, Rabbi. For everything that, not just that you did tonight, but that you always do, and how you raise us up. I would like, and this is not to bring us back down, but I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, that last year, the Shabbat probably, and I'll have to go look on my calendar and see that the Shabbat immediately after Purim was done with you, Rabbi Yarkin, in the Deber Chapel, and about really literally just a minion of people. I was at home because I was in forced isolation, having come back from APAC, so that this Shabbat would mark the anniversary of our first complete virtual Shabbat. Isn't that amazing to contemplate? We've gotten much better at it, I think, I hope, and I hope that as good as we've gotten, we can get back to being good in person in no time flat. Yay, vaccines. So with that, yes, and I hope to see you at the piano bar. Rabbi Yarkin is right. Just go to the website, either the calendar page or right at the bottom of our homepage. There's a little place where you can click to get right into the lounge. So Yigdal, my fave on page 62. And I'm going to use the Italian Sephardic tune tonight. That also goes to Adon Olam. Yigdal Elohim Chai ve'yishtabach nimtza b'yeinei del metziuto echad b'yein yachid keyichudo le'lam v'gam ein sof le'yachduto. לא דמות הגוף ואינו גוף לא נערך אליו קדושתו קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו הינו אדון עולם בכל נוצר יורה גדולתו ומלכותו שפע נבואתו שסגולתו ותפארתו לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד נביא Shivato Gomer Lish Chesed Kemifalo Noten Rashara Kirishato Ishlach Leketz Yamim Meshichenu Liftot Nachal Keketz Yeshuato Metim Yechayev Berov Chasto Baruch Adei Ad Shem Tilato Metim Yechayev Berov Chasto Baruch Adei Ad Shem Tilato.
Shabbat Shalom. Yesha Kochach. Thank you. And also tune in tomorrow, 9:30, for more Shabbos Ki Tisa, Shabbat Para, with some lovely shacharit and a wonderful darshan. It's our very own Mark Guggenheim. So tune in and there'll be wonderful experiences and communal operation celebrations together. So enjoy.
Bye.